State of Diablo with Season 7. I've played 25 hours so far, and either you hate it or you do actually still love it. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Diablo at this point is quite shallow, and you can get really fast through the content, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Let me tell you why I still enjoy playing Diablo, how I spend my time and which activities are good, but also what really needs to change in the future to keep the game rolling. Because there are quite some pain points. And just a heads up for this video, you're not going to hear me constantly say PoE 2 does this, Diablo doesn't do this. This is a video about Diablo, not about PoE 2 and then Diablo. First, the elephant in the room. Season 7 leveling witchcraft powers, recycled content. Right now, you can get a character from level 1 to 60 in 2 to 3 hours. Sounds crazy, right? And that especially gets boosted by the new witchcraft powers. In normal difficulty, I can stand AFK around and my witchcraft powers kill everything. It does sound dumb, but it's actually fun because it allows me to do the harder difficulties and then blast faster through the content. And considering that Diablo doesn't start before level 60. Yes, you heard right. Diablo is kind of like World of Warcraft, just not with hours and hours to get there. At level 60, the game begins, because all gear you get before is useless. Everything you do before is kind of useless, apart from doing your seasonal reputation, doing the seasonal quests to get the bonus loot caches, and upgrading your witchcraft powers. These things are persistent, they're staying. But every single piece of equipment you have until level 60 is interchangeable and useless. Maybe you'll find one unique that you keep in a lower item power to then replace later, but as soon as you hit level 60, you're just looking for ancestral items, ancestral uniques, go for torment, get the better stuff, masterwork the things, start tempering. You basically don't even act with main game mechanics like tempering your gear until you hit level 60 because you simply don't need it. And that's why the fast leveling is actually great and fine to me. Some people might say it's trivial, and the throwaway nature of gear while leveling feels bad. The whole point of leveling right now is to still get you used to your class, to get you used to the new seasons, maybe used to using a new skill set. And then as you reach level 60 after a couple of hours, you can play the actual game and try to live your power fantasy. I wanted to play a Bloodwave Necro. I needed Casami's Legacy. That's a unique drop for which I want to start farming Torment 1, Torment 2, Lord Zur. So I couldn't live this power fantasy of Bloodwave until I reached level 60, got the respective aspects, and was able to put everything together. And that's really when I started to play to get what I wanted to do. Now we'll move into the endgame and the Torment tiers in a bit, but let's stick with the leveling for a second longer. For me personally, having a longer leveling journey can be very enjoyable. The thing about Diablo is, it's shallow. We said this at the beginning. Sure, we get the Helltide, we get the new seasonal zone, we get the Whispers, but end of the day, leveling in Diablo is truly just do your activities to get as fast as possible to the end game that you can then start putting your gear together. Therefore, shortening that time in the future to 2-3 hours. And that's considering you know what you're doing. You know what skill point to pick. You know how to rush through. Most people I've talked to, they have taken up to 5 hours to level. And that works really well for the casual community in Diablo. For the try-hard, super hardcore blaster community, it might get boring. That being said though, I've already leveled a Necromancer to level 60, I've already leveled a Druid to level 60, and right now I am planning to pump out the Rogue, Barb, Spiritborn, Sorg, because I know I can do it in 2-3 hours. If I wanted to in an 8-hour gaming session, I could almost get 3 classes to level 60, and then start experimenting with different builds and have more fun. Now, if you only like one class, that's a shitter for you, that's for certain. But if you're interested in giving more things a chance, this is quite a good change, as finally everyone has the option to level more than one character. Now let's look into the endgame and the endgame systems. And a lot of people keep saying Diablo 4 doesn't have an endgame, but what they're saying is they don't enjoy the endgame that is actually there. Because at this point, we have quite some activities to bring your character's power forward. You get to level 16, you have to get to Torment 4, because that's where most loot drops, and that's also where the highest pit tiers are. You have to do the pit to level up your glyphs. You can do Infernal Hordes to get Masterworking gear and Ancestral Uniques. You get the Undercity for the same Masterworking, Boss Materials, Experience, Uniques, and also runes. Then the new seasonal zones where you gather your fugitives' hats with the root holds, the new dungeons for even more loot, to get yourself tons of Restless Rod, to upgrade the witch powers, to become even more powerful and supplement your builds, to then inevitably push deeper into the pit to reach that elusive pit 150 rank. And then there's still the uber bosses to farm to get yourself a mythic unique if you then so wish to, which you don't actually need to make builds work, and to pick up the respective uniques that you're looking for, which I do personally, by the way, still find a good thing because I at least know where to go to get my unique if I really want the unique. That doesn't mean you 100% get it, but if you do Torment 4 bosses and 10 of them, not getting a single piece, even if it's a low roll, is unlikely. Not impossible, just unlikely. And for me personally, my favorite part is, if my character hits level 60, and I start in Torment 1, I have to figure out my armor, my resistances, my basic gear, my build starts slowly coming online, I start doing the Infernal Hordes, I test how fast is this build versus my other character in Infernal Hordes, I get deeper into the pit, until I really reach this point of, bam, it actually works. That might take anything from 4 to 10 hours. Yes, this part is sped up quite nicely too, but right now to get a character completely fleshed out, I can do it from level 1 to level 60 into pit 100 in 6 to 10 hours. And if I consider playing every single class, that'd be 60 hours for a season. Without doing any different build, and without thinking about maxing a class, if I would then try to achieve something. And I guess there we come to the problems of achievements. Because right now there is nothing to achieve. Because we don't have any kind of leaderboard. We don't have any kind of way to measure your achievement or even show off your achievement. Sure, you can say you have cleared pit 100, but you can't shout it out to the world through in-game mechanics. The same goes for the Infernal Hordes. The Infernal Hordes are the best thing that Diablo 4 has right now. They're fun to do. An interesting mechanic. The same goes for the Undercity. Quite cool. But they need to iterate on these things. The Infernal Horde exists for 6 months now. And they haven't gotten better. There's no new boons, banes, bosses, corrupted compasses. Yes, I'm talking about taking your Infernal Compass, and instead of it being 10 waves, why is it not 20 waves with 2 boss fights? Why is it not Mephisto invaded your Infernal Compass, and there's 200% more monsters, different banes, different boons? Why can I not choose, as a Torment 4 player, to do something to my Nightmare Dungeon sigils, Undercity totems, Infernal Horde compasses? Why can I not juice my own gameplay? I know that's a term from a different ARPG, but this is truly what's missing in Diablo 4. Giving the player the opportunity to make a uber boss, a super uber boss, if they then so want to, because they're looking for the challenge. They want a grueling, crazy fight. If I want to make my Infernal Horde 4 times as hard, for 4 times as much loot, why can I not do it? My build is so good that it just trivializes the content. There needs to be a way to push the content further. And no, further Torment tiers are not the option. Making Torment 8 is not like making it better, because it just creates this grind for everyone. But that's not supposed to be. But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for an individual way for the player that wishes for more difficulty to push it further with items in the game. Because if you make more Torment tiers, then it's not an option anymore. It's like the new goal to reach. But then we reach the same problem, because if you get to tier 8, it's also then that difficulty, and you can't make it more complicated. You will always reach the point where even the juiced up tiers will become trivial. But that's just the nature of the game and how much time you've put in. Now add to that a leaderboard to the pit that excludes cheaters and RMT people, and even include a leaderboard into the Infernal Hordes. It sounds silly, right? But why don't we have an Infernal Hordes leaderboard that would rank us how much Cinder we achieved. Now, I would be more willing to try to get the most Cinder possible in an Infernal Horde over actually pushing deeper in the pit. It would be a fun little mini game for me to just see what position could I still achieve. It's the small and silly things. People like stupid achievements. I am top 100 in the Infernal Hordes leaderboard, and it would make me happy. Especially if I then level up differing characters to see how's my Druid holding up versus my Necro. Can I make the absolute best Infernal Hordes build? It doesn't always have to be the pit pushing. There are other ways to quantify the goodness of your character. And this is right now, I see Blizzard's biggest problem. They're truly leaning into this, we need new weapons, uniques, aspects, skills, reworks. But we're not building on what we have. We're adding always new things to the game. We're trying to push it forward somewhere where we want to be. But the things that exist don't really get too much iterated up in. We still have nightmare dungeons, right? And they now give you masterwork materials. But the actual nightmare dungeon in itself, at this point, is a failed concept. I haven't been in an actual nightmare dungeon in forever. Like I don't do them anymore. Masterwork materials are better to be achieved somewhere else, and you can still rush through nightmare dungeons for some material gains, and sometimes you could even measure in per hour that they could be better. But they're simply not more fun to do than an Infernal Horde. That's something they truly need to throw an eye on and rework. Now, is it a problem that Diablo is so shallow, so easy, so trivial? No. It is not an issue, as not every ARPG has to be complicated as hell. There's still people struggling with mechanics in Diablo and making their builds work. Yes, for the blasters. For people spending hundreds of hours with the game, Diablo's goddamn trivial at this point. Yet though, the game is a simple-minded, easy fun to play. I am looking forward to every Diablo season, as it's just simple, easy, fun. Now they still need to make sure to not completely lose the identity. We can be simple, easy, fun. And with the introduction of juicing content, you can still catch the people that want to invest more, and more time. What do you think? Have you completely given up on the game, or are you looking forward to new seasons and enjoying the content that is there? And most importantly, what would you do to make it better? Thank you very much for watching. If you're now looking for, well, an absolute bonkers Druid or Necromancer, these are two builds that will give you nothing but joy. Have a good time.